everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for a Kids Book of the Month video. So those of you that watched my 2022 goals video, I will link that in the description below, so if you'd like to go and check that out, you can go and do that. But anyway, for those of you that watched that video, you would know that I made a few changes to some of the videos that I was doing frequently and what they would look like. And that includes the Kids Book of the Month videos. So last year, about halfway through the year, I decided to do a Kids Book of the Quarter. I have now decided to go back to Kids Book of the Month, but it's actually bi-monthly. So I'll be doing a Kids Book of the Month video every second month. And I thought that I would start the year off with January being my Kids Book of the Month, if that makes sense. As you guys probably know, I am a teacher. I'm a primary school teacher and early childhood educator, and literacy and reading and learning to read and write is something that is a big focus for the younger years and something that I find to be incredibly important and something that I really love to focus on and think about for any classes that I teach or any children that I work with. Sorry, that's my cat going nuts just there. Anyway, so I think that literacy and reading is really important, and I decided to do this series of videos because I love talking about kids' picture books. I have quite an extensive collection of kids' picture books that I take in to lots of the different classes and daycare rooms that I teach because the children really enjoy being read to. I like to talk about those books. I would also like to let you know, in case you didn't know already, that I do have another channel which I haven't been updating at all recently, but it still exists, it's still there. So obviously if you want to go and have a look at it, then all the information for that is also in the description below. It's actually always in the description of my videos, and that is a parenting advice and ideas channel. And in that I go through a whole bunch of different areas of raising children and teaching children and different ways that you can do those things. But I wanted to bring the book side of it onto this channel because this is the channel that I enjoy making the most, but I also do still think those things are really important. So what we're going to do today is talk about some kids' picture books. In previous videos, and particularly on that other channel, I have focused very much on books that were good from a point of view of developing certain aspects of literacy, helping children to focus on different areas that would improve their learning and their development within literacy in general, but also in a broader context. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. What I want to focus on today is the idea of encouraging children to enjoy books and reading. Obviously, I'm a booktuber, so books are something that I love in general. I really enjoy, therefore, going into a classroom or hanging out with my nephew or any other child that I know personally and reading with them, talking about books with them. And so I think that along with literacy, learning and development, a love of reading, a love of books, a love of story is something that's actually really important, even potentially more so in those younger years than the specifics of being able to read words or read letters or read sentences, particularly, like I said, in the very younger years, so under sort of 5 years when formal schooling starts in most situations, because if they don't have that love of reading, that joy of books, then they won't necessarily gravitate towards reading, and therefore helping them to develop those skills that are really important in life in general will be a lot harder. The caveat, of course, for the books that I'm about to talk to you about is not that these books don't have merit from a literacy development point of view. They absolutely do. All of them have different techniques that help children to learn and develop within their literacy learning, and all of them are really great examples of books that you could use in any context to help children to learn specific literacy lessons, specific literacy skills, that sort of thing. But I have chosen 4 books that I think are also really loved by children and really loved as just books that are fun or funny, and therefore are really good examples of books that you don't necessarily have to read because it's part of a lesson, or make into something that you then do a big lesson and lesson sequence from, or really focus on all of the different other things you can do with those books. You can just read the books and enjoy the books, and the children can just read and enjoy the books and not have to worry about, am I sounding out the right letters? Am I understanding what's happening in this story? Am I able to compare the pictures to the words to be able to get an understanding of what's going on in a larger context? All of the sorts of things that we want children to learn and to be able to do. And these books will definitely help with those things, but I think that it's also really important just to enjoy books. And one of the things that I love as an educator is reading aloud to a class, particularly actually in the mid-primary school, from about sort of grade 2 up to even grade 6, because I do think that for a lot of children, particularly those children that maybe aren't as proficient with their reading can become quite difficult and quite challenging, and so their focus is on it as a task to be done rather than something to enjoy. And so reading aloud to children allows them to not have to work as hard and just to be able to enjoy the story and be able to enjoy the experience, which I think is just as important. Like I said, if children aren't enjoying books and reading, they're less likely to gravitate towards doing those things. Reading will become a chore, and the development will just stagnate because they won't automatically do it themselves. So books that children really, really enjoy are really important from that point of view, because it allows them to just, to enjoy reading and to experience reading. Particularly if you happen to be watching this channel, you're probably already a book lover yourself, so why not extend that into your reading with your kids? Don't just focus on their learning, focus on their enjoyment as well. So like I said, all 4 of these books have merits from a literacy learning point of view, but they happen to be books that I think are really, really great for encouraging children to just enjoy books and enjoy reading. The first one of these is a book that is very, very popular, and I'm sure most of you have seen it before, and that is The Gruffalo by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. So I'm not going to show you the entirety of these books for obvious reasons, but basically this is a very clever story about a bit of a scary creature, the Gruffalo, and a very tricksy little mouse. It has some absolutely beautiful illustrations, and it is just a really clever little story about the mouse managing to trick everybody and get himself out of trouble by virtue of telling this story and involving this Gruffalo and then doing the same thing to the Gruffalo. But like I said, it's beautiful illustrations. It has the rhyming, so it is something that rhyming is something that children really like because it has that flow. It feels sort of musical, so they enjoy that pattern. Excuse me, Shade. Are you okay there? I'm being eaten by a cat right now. But yeah, so this is one that I definitely think has a lot of literacy development merit, but on its own, just as an enjoyable book, I think that children really, really love it. I think it's very popular for that very reason. There are loads of books by Julia Donaldson, which I would highly recommend that you go and check out. I'll put a link to her author page so you can go and check out all of the other books that she's written. They're all beautifully illustrated and fantastic books and really fun, and kids really enjoy them. But particularly this one, because it's the one I happen to have, I would highly recommend. Next up is another book that, again, like I've said and will continue to say, has a lot of merit from a literacy learning point of view, but is just really, really fun, particularly because this one is very much a rhyming book, and so it reads, like I said, kind of musically, which is something that children really enjoy, particularly younger children. It just helps them to pick up the story and to learn and to enjoy the story. And that is Hare and McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy by Lynley Dodd. This is another book that if you happen to have children or if you work in a primary or early childhood setting, you would not have not seen this book. It's a very popular book, a very common book. It is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that cover. It's got some beautiful illustrations. And like I said, it's got that lovely rhyming. It's also got a lot of repetition, which is something that younger readers really, really need to help them to understand what's happening in the story and to start to be able to feel like they can read, because a lot of the time they are reciting a known pattern of words, which is something that really helps them to enjoy that feeling that they are involved in the activity, involved in the reading. And like I said, I just love these illustrations. I think they are just absolutely beautiful. There is a whole series of these books. There's a bunch of other books about one of the cats in this story. This, I think, is the first one that Lynley Dodd wrote of this series, which there are now, like I said, many books. I'd highly recommend getting your hands on any or all of these books. Again, I will link Lynley Dodd's author page down below so you can go and check all that out. But yeah, highly recommend these books. The next one is something that is a little bit different, that I don't think is as well known as the other two books, but it is a lot of fun. It is something that kind of is a bit of a joke book, but is exploring some really interesting concepts, and that one is The Day the Crayons Quit by Drew Daywalt, and with pictures by Oliver Jeffers. So this is about a box of crayons who quit. And when the little boy Duncan goes to do some colouring in, he finds that he has no crayons, and instead he has a whole bunch of letters from his crayons, all of which are explaining to him why they have left and what their problem is. So we have some of the crayons, like the red crayon, who is very upset because they have to do so much work because they colour in so many different things and are used so often. And then we have crayons like the beige crayon, who is the opposite, who is hardly ever used and is really not happy with being constantly compared to the brown crayon, and so is quitting because doesn't think that he gets used as often. And then we have the blue crayon, who has been Duncan's favourite colour to use, and so therefore has gotten so used that now very small and doesn't have much of himself left, and is worried about not existing anymore. So I just think this is such a clever book. I really do love the format of it, because all of the letters are written out as though they're actually, they're illustrated as though they're actually written by that crayon, by the actual, by itself on a piece of paper, which I think is really clever, and it's something that children really enjoy because it's something that's a little bit different and it's something that's a little bit funny. It talks about all the different reasons why the crayons are upset, like I said, and that's always a little bit amusing. Different crayons like yellow and orange are having a fight over which one of them is actually the colour of the sun, and they want Duncan to weigh in and say which one is the colour of the sun. So yeah, it's just really clever. I think this is a good one. I mean, I think they were all great for different age groups for different reasons, but I think this is one that will actually be really good for those sort of middle primary school, because it is not as straightforward a sort of rhyming storyline. It's got some different things going on to do with letter writing and formats and feelings and expressing emotions that I think would be really fun to explore. So if you are a teacher, then I would recommend this, if you haven't come across it, which I'm sure you probably have, as something that you could use in the classroom to explore a bunch of different things. But like I said, it's also just something that children really enjoy. The final book is a book that I came across when I was an early childhood educator and I was a room leader, and we had a TV and we would often put on different things when the children were having a rest time, and one of the things that I used quite frequently was the Storyline Online, which is run by the Screen Actors Guild, so the SAG Foundation. Basically it is an actor sitting in front of the camera reading a story, but then they also animate the story, so you alternate between watching the person read to you and the animation of the story, but the animation is always using the actual pictures in the storybook. So this one that I'm talking about today is Arnie the Doughnut it says cooked up by Laurie Keller. Now I have to admit to you, when I first saw this book or heard about this book, I didn't really understand why the kids loved it. They absolutely loved it. They would ask for this story over and over and over again. Personally, I found it a little bit strange. I still find it a little bit strange, but the children love it. So again, this is a book that is a really fantastic example of books to help children just really, really enjoy reading, enjoy experience of books. It is really lovely illustrations, really colourful, and although I find it a little strange, it is quite a fun story, and yeah, the children, like I said, absolutely adore it. I would highly recommend, if you are a parent or an educator, that you go and check out Storyline online. I will link them in the description below as well. There are so many different stories on there, short ones, long ones. They're all really well done. They're all really fun, and it's just a really nice way of experiencing stories and storytelling in a different format. Gives you a little bit of break from having to do the reading aloud yourself. But yeah, it's just really, really fun. And I think one of the reasons why the children loved this one so much is that it is read by Chris O'Dowd, and he is a very expressive reader, and he just made it really, really fun. So yeah, I would highly recommend that you go and check out Arnie the Doughnut on Storyline online. But also, just this book is really fun, and I think kids really, really love it. So definitely one that is good for children for their enjoyment of reading. There are many other books that I think are fantastic, and any book that I have talked about in this series of videos are books that I like from a point of view of enjoying reading as much as the various different literacy techniques that they help children to learn. So any of those books that I have spoken about, and the playlist is in the description below as well, so you can go and check that out, would be an example of books that I think that children enjoy and that will help them to experience the joy and love of reading. But these ones were ones that I hadn't talked about before, and I wanted to give you another example. So there you are. That's it from me today. If you have any children's picture books that you think are just beautiful, that children really love, please comment below and let me know. I always love to find new picture books that I can take to different classes. If you have any comments about any of the books I talked about today, or anything else to do with children's literacy, please comment below. If you would like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me a donut emoji, if there is a donut emoji. But leave me a donut emoji, hopefully, or something along those lines, piece of cake or something like that. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.